Come on, you didn't think we'd be able to try and make a 10-minute commentary about the Vancouver Canucks beating the Chicago Blackhawks of all teams, the Connor Bedard-less Chicago Blackhawks organization? I'm not gonna lie, this game was pretty alright, but at the end of the day, this is kind of the result that we expected, right? Nobody thought that Chicago was gonna beat Vancouver unless you're a super doomer Canucks fan that's still in the midst of the 2016, 17, 18 darkness that we had exhibited. But the Vancouver Canucks took it to Chicago, they ended up winning, but it's not really off the hands of guys that we may have expected. Because, heading into tonight's Chicago and Vancouver showcase, you saw the pre-game show with Richo and Satyr Shah wherein they're talking about the betting odds and the money lines and the props that you could go out there and choose, and everybody was talking about Elias Pettersson. Oh yeah, Pettersson, Petey, he's got to go out there and get points, the Canucks are going to win a regulation, this and that. But guess what? Tonight was a disappointing night if you're looking at it from the perspective of the Canucks top dogs. Instead, you got the most value out of this game if you paid attention to the third line. At this point, we have some new super studs in Vancouver, and because I'm also a Montreal Canadiens fan, I know, great segue, I wanted to talk about the studs that we had seen in tonight's Canadiens and Anaheim game because the Habs absolutely stomped the Ducks with a 5-0 shutout. Now, talking about this Canucks and Chicago thing, part of the reason I'm, let's say, a little bit pissed off is because, and I don't shut up about this, so I apologize in advance, but for the most part, my fantasy season has been all carried by Pettersson, Miller, and Hughes doing what Pettersson, Miller, and Hughes do. They score points, they score power play goals, they score power play assists, they get hits and do all those things in between too. But for the past few weeks, I've started to falter off a little bit, and I have not been getting the same results from week to week as I had been at the start of the year. Pettersson, Miller, and Hughes have kind of slowed down in terms of points, and even though they'll still get overtime goals against Washington or 3-point nights against Detroit, far too often now are these games becoming an issue where the guys go out there with 1 point shared between the three of them, the Canucks end up winning because the rest of the depth comes out there and starts scoring, but the main dudes, especially on the power play, cannot get it done. Oh, Lego, what are you doing? Why are you making a video about the Vancouver Canucks winning, but you're focusing on all the negative stuff? Well, there are still things to focus on. The Vancouver Canucks are now, over 13 in their last power play opportunities, spanning back to the past 3 games? I'm, of course, letting my personal emotions filter into the audio of this commentary because I'm losing my matchup this week, despite the fact that I do have Dakota Joshua on my fantasy squad. He has been fantastic the entire year. There has not been a bad game from Joshua in weeks, because even when he's not going out there and scoring goals, scoring assists, he's going out there hitting and blocking shots and making an impact on the penalty kill. Even Noah Juleson has been more impactful on my fantasy team than these other guys at the top of the league. So, heading into tonight's matchup, or this week's matchup, I guess, much to my dismay, everything was going well at the beginning, but once this game against Chicago wrapped up, I did myself some looking, and I realized that I was absolutely getting dominated in my fantasy week. And you know why? It's because the guys on my team have not really been doing all too well, except for Dakota Joshua and a few others around the NHL. But because the guy on the other side that I'm playing against, shout out to you, Richard Clay, he's got the duo of JURAJ SLAFKOVSKY and Nick Suzuki stacked on top of each other. Man, let's segue to the Canadiens game. Those two went off. Multi-power play point games out of both Suzuki and Slafkovsky, and for me personally, I feel like an idiot, because I was hyping up Slafkovsky this entire time, saying, hey, the guy's been getting better, and what happens a few weeks after we make those videos? He gets picked off of free agency by the guy that I'm playing this week, and now he has the stack with Suzuki and him. Anaheim, y'all absolutely stunk, and the Montreal Canadiens just took it to them. We'd already talked about this a little bit earlier in the show, but JURAJ SLAFKOVSKY has been so good as of late that there's really no stopping him now, and for Nick Suzuki to benefit from the Slafkovsky explosion of offensive productivity. It's kind of like a match made in heaven, not to mention Cole Caulfield getting involved in the action as well. I get it, I'm calling out 2 players on my team, JT Miller and Elias Pettersson, and 2 players on my opponent's team, Suzuki and Slafkovsky, and I'm making it seem like they're the entire reasons why I'm losing. No, they're not the entire reason. There are other guys that are doing well too. My guys aren't particularly performing all too well, plus I made some bad scratches today, but at the end of the day, this is sort of the dichotomy of what's going on with my 2 favorite teams at the moment. A game against Chicago wherein you had 3 points out of Dakota Joshua, including a fight, so a Gordie Howe hat trick out of the guy, but Pettersson, Hughes, and Miller just cannot seem to get things going. Quinn Hughes had an assist tonight on the Dakota Joshua 4-1 goal, but other than that, Elias Pettersson did not look good today. Some of the plays that he made in the offensive zone, holding onto the puck for too long, causing turnovers, making bad reads, and then giving it away in the worst possible opportunities. There was also the chance where Colin Blackwell came in for the backhander up off the bar. Elias Pettersson was the check there. He didn't do anything. Whilst the Canucks ended up winning this one 4-1 because of some very good goals scored by Conor Garland, you had the give and go from Hronek. It goes up to Garland. He passes it off to Joshua on the left side. Joshua quickly goes back to Garland on the right side. Beautiful goal to open things up in the first period. And then you had yourselves the deflected shot in the second, where Philip Hronek and Joshua again get the assists. Hronek with the shot, and it goes in off of Garland's foot and trickles into the back of the net. Very, very solid goal there. The Blackhawks then respond on the power play, a beautiful setup by Filip Kurashev and Nick Foligno. Tic-tac-toe over to Tyler Johnson, who one-times it in. And then you had Nils Hoglander getting himself his 17th on the year to restore the 2-goal lead. Very nice play where the puck goes off the end boards and bounces out to the side of the goal. Lindholm gets a little touch on it, but then it's Hoglander who picks it up, dangles around, and slips it 5-hole on Petr Mrazek, ending off the second period with a score of 3-1. Then in the third period, you had yourselves that Dakota Joshua goal, which we had talked about. Very nice setup. Quinn Hughes goes over to Bluger. Bluger tosses it out into the middle, and it's Dakota Joshua who takes it, drags it onto the backhand, completely fools Petr Mrazek, and puts it into the open cage. Then you had Kevin Korchinski score on a very nice back-and-forth cross-crease opportunity for the Blackhawks. Honestly, the Canucks ended up winning this game, which is good. They're still first in the NHL. You want to see those points getting up on the board. But this definitely wasn't like a super dominating performance, This wasn't no 10-goal showcase against the San Jose Sharks or anything like that. It was just more of a business-as-usual type approach. And the Canucks ended up getting 0 points out of Pettersson and Miller, which sucks for me. And their power plays still struggled in terms of being able to get cohesive chances to go in. I'll admit the second unit actually looked a little bit better on the power play than the first unit did today. And that's very odd to say, especially considering the developments over the past few weeks here. So to see my fantasy go down the drain this week because of an early head start that the guy I'm playing ended up getting because of that Nick Suzuki-JURAJ SLAFKOVSKY duo against the Anaheim Ducks, I'm feeling pretty upset, and I wanted to combine those 2 ideas into a video because, of course, right? It's my show. What am I going to do? Not talk about JURAJ SLAFKOVSKY and Nick Suzuki doing their thing? I feel like such an idiot, honestly, for preaching all this stuff about JURAJ SLAFKOVSKY being good and not picking him up as a free agent in the midst of his scoring tirade. Now I'm getting bitten the behind because the guy I'm playing has him, and he's got Suzuki. If only my top guys were actually, producing well too. Because there was a period for most of November and December and everything where Pettersson, Miller, and Hughes were just getting so many points over and over and over again. Teams have started to lock down on them, eh? Is that really all there is to it? Is it that people in the NHL are saying, yeah, we cannot give any time or space to Elias Pettersson. You got to respect every chance that he has to hold on to the puck a little bit or make a nice read or whatever because he's getting knocked down. JT Miller's been reduced a little bit too. Yeah, I get it. This video is kind of ass because I'm talking more so about the fantasy matchup that I have rather than the Canucks and the Blackhawks itself. But come on, as I said at the beginning of the video, who thought that Vancouver was going to lose? They won 4-2. Okay, yeah, they should have won 4-2. What else would you have expected to happen? Canucks wouldn't have blown this game, right? Dakota Joshua had a Gordie Howe hat trick. That's great. he's been doing well. If only everybody else did well too. I don't know. Okay, lots to improve on for this Canucks team. Even though they end up winning 4-2, they have themselves the 7 points out of a possible 10 on the road trip. That's very good. They're coming back soon. They'll play off against Detroit on Thursday. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, not only about the Canucks and their win against Chicago, but also about the Nick Suzuki or Slafkovsky stuff going on in Anaheim. I feel kind of bad that I made this video about both of those, but yeah, it's just a stream of consciousness at this point, isn't it? I hope you enjoyed this JURAJ SLAFKOVSKY, and bye.